technology are essentially similar to those from which they have been derived, that the process is splendidly exact, and that GE foods, therefore, are, if anything, safer than their traditionally bred parents, when in fact, there's significant dissimilarity. The process is far from exact, and the risks are greater, especially the risk of creating unexpected toxins that are difficult to detect. Druker describes how amazingly successful the biotech lobby has been, and the extent to which the general public and government decision-makers have been hoodwinked by the clever and methodical twisting of the facts and the propagation of many myths. Moreover, it appears that a number of respected scientific institutions, as well as many eminent scientists, were complicit in this relentless spreading of disinformation. Chapter 5 shows how the key step in the commercialization of GE foods occurred through the unbelievably poor judgment, if not downright corruption, of the U.S. Food and Drug Administration, the FDA. This regulatory body is supposed to ensure that new additives to foods are safe before they come to market, and it had a responsibility to require that GE foods were proven safe through standard scientific testing. But the information that Druker pried from the agency's files through a lawsuit revealed that it apparently ignored and covered up the concerns of its own scientists and then violated a federal statute and its own regulations by permitting GE foods to be marketed without any testing whatsoever. The evidence further shows how the agency assured consumers that GE foods are just as safe as naturally produced ones, and that their safety has been confirmed by solid scientific evidence, despite the fact it knew that no such evidence existed. Druker makes the case that it was this fraud that truly enabled the GE food venture to take off, and he asserts that the fraud continues to deceive the public and Congress, despite the fact that the lawsuit he initiated thoroughly exposed it. His description of the proceedings surrounding this lawsuit was, to me, one of the most astounding and chilling parts of the book. And what of the role of the media? How have the American public been so largely kept in the dark about the realities of GE foods, to the extent that until quite recently, a vast majority of the populace did not even know they were regularly consuming them? Druker describes in Chapter 8 how the mainstream media have been highly selective in what they report, and have consistently failed to convey information that would cause concern about these engineered products. Moreover, Druker demonstrates that the policies imposed by the media magnates have been, in his words, not merely selective, but suppressive. And he relates several dramatic incidents in which journalists who tried to bring unsettling facts to light had their stories altered or totally quashed by higher-level executives. So it is not surprising that the American public, and a good many key decision-makers, believe that there are no legitimate concerns regarding GE foods. I am personally grateful to Stephen Druker for writing this book. It has been a monumental task, and reflects the passionate desire of a man with a true scientific spirit to reveal, as precisely as possible, the truth behind the misrepresentations of the truth. Nonetheless, despite its integrity, altered genes, twisted truth, can be expected to meet fierce criticism from those who promote the GE food venture. And like all who attempt to disclose the venture's underside, its author will probably be attacked and branded as anti-science and anti-progress. But it seems to me that it is not those who point to the problems of the venture who are anti-science. It is quite the other way around. Nevertheless, Druker will almost surely be subjected to the same sort of criticisms as those leveled against Rachel Carson when she published Silent Spring in 1962. I think it is important that you read this book carefully, assessing for yourself how firmly it is grounded in fact and logic. You may well come to the same conclusion as I have, that Stephen Druker is upholding the tradition of good science. Then read some of the books and articles written by pro-GE scientists, especially some of those by prominent biologists, and you may well decide that their standard